I'm all excited. I'm now here with one of the most interesting startups that I've met yet here in India. It's the company Wave, and I'm here with Vilas, the Chief Operating Officer.
Yeah.
What is this? Tell us.
So what we're building here is a new category of city car for India. What we've built here is a city commuter vehicle. It's fully electric, and it has a solar panel on top, which provides about 30% of a typical person's annual commuting distance. What we want to do is we want to bring electric vehicles to the masses, and that's only possible when you bring something and you build something that meets the needs of city commuters, and we're starting that here in India. We intend to take the car outside India as well in the long run, but we'll begin here in India.
And when I've been traveling around here, I'm forever stuck in traffic, and I wonder why people want to go with these huge SUVs on the roads.
Yeah.
A lot of electric cars are
Yeah.
way much bigger than we actually need. This is the first right-sized car I've seen, I believe. What are public's reaction until now?
The public's reaction has been amazingly positive. We took the car to the Delhi Auto Expo earlier last year, and the reaction was, why hasn't somebody thought of this before? We want something that can take me to the tight parking in the marketplace, that can get me through the narrow lanes that we need to go through and not get stuck. And please make it comfortable, and please make it air conditioned. And we are delivering all of that for them.
And I keep getting asked, why aren't there solar panel roofs on electric cars? And I keep saying it doesn't make sense. It's going to add so little. But I think you have made me change my mind. Tell us.
Indeed, indeed. So there's really no big magic here. It's all about physics. If you make a car that's light enough and efficient enough, you can actually generate. So in this car, we have 1 square meter of the roof area that generates about 1 kilowatt hour of energy every day. And that in our vehicle is about 12 to 15 kilometers of range. And that is significant because typically people in India in a typical commute drive about 35 kilometers a day. For them, it's a material health, and people love it.
And you were just quickly mentioning it, but so less than 0.5 kilowatt hours per 10 kilometers. That's not even half of a typical electric car. Is size and weight the trick here?
The size and the weight, that is the trick there. And what you have to do is to size the vehicle for the job to be done. So we are not building a car to go 120 kilometers per hour on a highway. We don't need to. Traffic barely moves at 20 or 30 kilometers per hour. So we are sizing the vehicle, but we are developing it in a way that it is safe for use in a city environment. And then you get the benefits of comfort, convenience, safety, and people love it. I mean, that's the whole point. You can't make a car that you have to sell to people. You have to make a car that people say, I want this. That's what we're doing.
And one thing, you're right. There's no need for high speed, top speed if you're not going to go on the motorways and expressways.
Right.
But on the other hand, like the Ami from Citroën and others, sometimes they're just simply too slow for the traffic that will hit you even in urban areas. What is the top speed of this one?
Indeed. So in India, the L7 category, which is what this car will be, limits speeds at 70 kilometers per hour. We believe that's more than enough for what you need or what you encounter in a typical tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 city in India. And people won't really feel any concern about speed limit here.
What would be the typical usage for this car? Who would buy it?
Oh, the typical family initially would be somebody who's very curious about electric cars, but don't want to spend the 30, 40 lakhs to buy a high end car. They would choose a small car like this to say, I already have a car in the family. I need something of the convenience and the comfort of electric vehicles in a small form factor. And they would be the ones initially choosing the car. But we envision as this car comes in the hands of more consumers, we'll have a very diverse range of people wanting the car. College students who want to go to college, homemakers who want to take their kids to school, people who just drive solo all the time and want to go to work or go to the marketplace. We continue to have this kind of a large spectrum of users that will be, and India, it's a very large market.
And initially, this is for buying, but there's also a shared vehicle economy happening here in India. Could this be part of that?
Potentially, yes. But what we have seen is consumers in India really prefer to own a vehicle. It becomes part of the family. It's a very cherished possession. So the 90% of the use cases will be ownership. There may be future developments where people set up a model where you can share a vehicle like this, and that could be in the future. But we expect the initial buyers would all wanting it for their own use, for the family use.
You know what? Over the years, I've seen so many cars that excite me, and this is certainly one of them. But I also see a lot of failures. That
Indeed.
you see the first prototypes, maybe the first test runs,
Yeah.
and then going in mass production. It's simply massively hard. How are you
Yes.
gonna get there?
So we start with the design of the vehicle and the design of the organization. We have people in our organization who have experienced what's known commonly as production hell, right? We know how hard manufacturing is. So we have started with very clear vision of what we need to do, and we've seen criticism of our work as being too slow. To them, I would say no, this is deliberate and this is intended to be a successful vehicle in the hands of consumers. It takes time, it takes effort, and it does take money. It's not cheap to build an electric vehicle. But we are doing all the right things in the beginning so that when it comes time to start scaling, we start with a small production run of, let's say, 100 vehicles. We are ready. We give it sufficient time for test markets to give us sufficient feedback before then we start scaling up. And the beauty of being here in Pune means that there's a really large ecosystem of tier one suppliers, tier two automotive suppliers, and a huge amount of talent, right from the early stage engineering student all the way to a very senior automotive professional. So we have the benefit of all of those to make it happen.
And not only is this car going to be virtually all made in India, but most of the parts are going to be from the very vicinity, from the area.
Indeed, and that's the reason we are here in Pune. There's a very large established automotive industry here in Pune, and as the world's third largest automotive industry, there is no lack of any either resource, parts, components, everything we need to make the vehicles right here. Eventually, we expect lithium cells to be made in India as well, and that will be part of our indigenously developed car.
So I guess if people want to invest in your company, now is the time to step forward. But when can we get behind the wheel?
So we expect that we need about 12 to 15 months from now to get the first vehicles in the hands of test consumers.
Mid 2025.
Mid 2025, but as you very well know, timelines in the manufacturing environment can slip, but we are trying very hard to hit these timelines. So realistically, mid next year is really the timing that we would expect to have cars in people's hands, and production would start at about initially 100 vehicles per month range. We expect demand to be tremendous, so it's going to be hard for us to keep up, but we will ramp up as soon as we can, but in a reliable way to get to all the people who want the car.
A few specific technical data, price, range.
So, sure. So the range of the vehicle is going to be, we'll have at least two variants. The higher variant will have a real world range of 250 kilometers. It's chosen intentionally so that it provides a full week of driving for a city commuter. We also have fast charging in the vehicle, which enables them to quickly get back on the road if they need to quickly charge. The price point is something that we are looking at in terms of a really large white space between entry level cars in India today, which are at about the 9 or 10 lakh rupee range.
That would be like
That's about
$12,000.
$12,000. And at the bottom end is the electric two wheelers, and those are in the 2 lakh rupee range.
$3,000.
Indeed. So between that is where we want to be placed. It needs to be something that could almost be an impulse purchase for somebody who looks at it and says, "It's a cute car. I love
want
it.
it."
I want it right now."
Before we wrap up, can you just give us a very quick walk through the car? Just show us.
Certainly. So what you see here is we have made the car very clean and minimalistic in appearance. It's intentional because we want this to be an international vehicle. So it's intended to be appealing to as broad a sense of aesthetics as possible. We have made it intentionally narrow bodied so that that helps in the narrow roads and crowded parking kind of situation.
Can squeeze through, yeah.
Yeah, and then we've got a single door here. This is the driver's side, and then sorry, this is the passenger side. And if you take a quick look inside, We have a very spacious space room for the driver. This is a driver centric vehicle, and that's really intended to encourage a person to use the vehicle on their own and be very comfortable and be almost pampered with everything that they need. Lots of elbow room, a very nicely set up display and interface with the vehicle. It's a connected car, so you'll have your app to start the air conditioning ahead of time. In the rear, what we have is seating for an adult and a child. And again, this is very intentional because we see that the typical use case in a city is either one person or maybe somebody else with you that you're carrying, whether it's a child or an adult. So that's the reason we have specifically sized the car for that. In the rear, what you see here is this is the car that we took to the Delhi Auto Expo, and this was built in the L5 category, which truly is intended as a city vehicle with three wheels. But here we have two rear wheels, and that's important because that's something that is allowed in the Indian L5 regulation. One of the biggest feedback we got from consumers at the Delhi Expo was, I love the car, the rear just looks a little odd. We took that to heart because the consumer's voice is the most important one here. And so what we have done is now, when we bring the car to the market, we will be in the L7 category, which is the quadricycle, and the rear wheels will have the same width or the track of the vehicle as the front of the car.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. But elsewise, it's gonna look a lot like this, and here we even have the solar panels.
That's where we have the solar panel. We actually have a sample up there on the wall.
Right.
That's what it looks like. It's about 1 square meter of a panel that we are developing here in India as well.
I'm so excited about this. Wish you the best of luck. Not only because it seems like you've got a great company here, but also because this is exactly what the world needs.
Indeed.
It needs to be emissions free. It's great that we use the power from above.
Yes.
And if we could have cars that also physically have a smaller footprint, all the better for all of us. Good luck.
We love it. Thank you. Thank you.